This is WZRD Chicago 88.3 FM. And we have with us at WZRD Glenn Sevier, the walking therapist. How are you today, Glenn?
I am doing so well. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm so excited to talk about walk and talk therapy. Thank you again.
Thank you. Well, first of all, how did you get involved in therapy? What made you decide to become a therapist?
Just growing up, I was always interested in listening to other people's conversations. I thought it was fascinating. It wasn't that it was trivial, but it was just interesting in a way that I could listen and as well as somehow give support when was needed. Oftentimes people need a ear, and so I was that ear ever since a young man. My mom always put me in volunteering, working with various groups, age groups, and Boy Scouts. So I was always involved in being a part of the community. Mhm.
Did you learn empathy from your mother?
I did. I learned empathy from my mom. My mom, she was a teacher. Matter of fact, I have quite a few aunts and cousins that are in the public education. I grew up in St. Louis, but I've been here for 34 years. But yeah, I mean, so that was always a part of our conversation and listening to my mom speak with my aunts and so you will always hear these interesting conversations and just some of the issues and concerns that they had to really work with students on. If it wasn't in the school in the classroom itself, it was definitely just within the community, within the family, things going on just within the world around us, and just how those students and those families were able to process and work through things at the same time, show up every day to school. Hmm.
So your mother told you stories about situations with students and how she was able to resolve various issues.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I will say this because I don't always talk about it, but when we talk about empathy and we talk about being a young man, one of the things I had a real concern with, issue with growing up was, I was a stutterer. I was a stutterer for a long time. I started, it really manifested itself in school in first grade. And those were some trying times. And so from first grade through, I say through eighth grade, I really had, yeah, stuttering was very, 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 very concerning. It was to the point oftentimes where I didn't want to speak too much because if I did, especially as a young man, or as a young person, people, you would get teased a little bit there. People hear that you're stuttering, it wasn't nice, and so I had to find strategies, coping skills, and ways that I could navigate throughout the school, just introducing myself and having conversations or not having conversations. Sometimes I found myself having conversations and I think this is where that active listening came into play and being more empathetic. But my conversations, if I had someone that I didn't know, but they wanted to have a conversation, my conversation was based around, oh wow, really? Hmm. Man, and the more I just had these one word type interactions, it opened up it kind of opened them up to be able to have more of a conversation. And it was just up to me to figure out a way to keep that conversation going without really telling them or letting them know that I was a stutter. Now, at some point, obviously they found out, but it wasn't until I believe I established some form of relationship that I may have been a stutterer, but I was also a human being. I was a young man. I was an individual just like they were, and that was a way of me having a different approach when I met people. Hmm.
Did your mom try to help you overcome the stuttering?
She did. Many, my mom and dad and many family members did. Um, but it was I think the more that it was because I could have easily have received some type of assistance in school through the special education system. as it relates to language and speech. But that wasn't the route that my mom felt that would be suitable for me. You've got to remember, I grew up in the 70s, and so special ed wasn't that prominent, and it wasn't thought about being as that type of support the way it is now. And so when you talk about wanting to be, when you want to receive, various services like that, my mom was kind of antsy, and as a result, it took a little bit longer for me to figure out ways of speaking and strategizing and talking in the classroom. So that's where that part of the empathy that you're talking about, that's where it really came true because when I'm working with my clients, or I also work in the schools too, as a counselor. And when I'm working with my students, I have a real understanding what they may be experiencing. And so that empathetic part of me stands out, and is very stands very real with my students, and they can feel that.
Well, I think that when you try to overcome stuttering by yourself, you probably had the different situations, and then if that situation did not resolve itself, maybe you went back and then thought about it. If you were to able to do it over again, what would you do differently so that that situation would be better? Did you ever think that way?
I've never thought of it that way because I think what I had to experience for me was something that I had to experience because look at what I do. Look at how I show up. Look at how I interact with the students or individuals, my clients. I think I'm able to understand what they may have been going through or what they're going through now, and it gives me an opportunity. I see these situations or these concerns or these struggles. I see them as opportunities. I don't see them as something that has just that's awful. And that's my role when I'm working with my clients is how can we take this opportunity, this struggle, sometimes it's trauma. Now, how can we use it as an opportunity to dig deeper, to figure out what those concerns or what those things what was going on during those times, and how can we manifest in a way that can be useful? And I think about would go back and I think about the things that actually helped me as a young man. Was I was heavily involved in sports, outdoors, heavily involved in Boy Scouts, outdoor nature, walking, hiking, physical activities. And it was a great way for me to connect with other people without necessarily having to have elongated conversations, but a way to be able to communicate with them in a way that wasn't through verbal, but through visual, through physical. And I think those things were able to help me, and I was able to piece things together. Another thing that I grew up doing was part of was meditating. My mom she did teach me that. Meditation was very big in our household. That was something that I took on as something to use when I was feeling stressful, when I had feelings of anxiety. So yeah, I think I did a pretty good job, and I wouldn't change anything, to be honest with you.
So when your mom was teaching you meditation, did the family spend some time together, like certain points of the day, and meditated together?
My mom and I did, yes, yes,
Right.
we did. Breathing techniques, visualizing, those were some of the strategies that we used, and I say by eighth grade, it wasn't something that just happened overnight with my stuttering, because I still see myself as a stutterer. Though I don't, but I still see myself as that. And so I still understand that I have to take my time when I'm speaking, and it's so interesting that we're talking about this because growing up and during those times where I was a stutterer, I really had to slow down my conversation, my tone of voice, the way that I spoke. And it's so interesting that this is what I do on a day-to-day basis. I know how to calm down. I know how to speak through breathing. And so it just kind of follows itself. And I think again that started back with my mom showing me and teaching me how to meditate. Yes. Hmm.
Seems as if when people speak slowly and calmly, they communicate more effectively as well,
Absolutely, and it also gives you some time to think about what you want to say.
right? When you enjoyed nature with your friends, uh, by enjoying nature, you kind of have to be empathetic with the nature as well. Did that ever help you in helping yourself and help you in doing therapy better, as being empathetic with nature and then being empathetic with others.
Absolutely. I can come up with two different experiences. Say experiences, but there's strategies and ways that I was able to use those strategies and ways of speaking with friends. One was being in Boy Scouts, and we would outdoors hiking, 5 mile hikes, 10 mile hikes. And, it's very interesting, but it's very true that you can often have stronger conversations, uh, empathetic conversations when you're walking side by side with someone. Why is that? Is because oftentimes you may feel a little nervous, insecure when it's face to face. You may not be able to speak about things that you truly want to talk about. And, I've had friends that I grew up with, and even those friends where when I was stuttering, uh, my stuttering was less when I would walk with them for our hikes. And so that was something that was extremely beneficial. Or sometimes going to school, and we would normally catch a bus, but we would miss our bus. And so we're walking to school. That may be a mile and a half or 2 miles. Again, having some real dialogue, real interesting conversations, but we're walking side by side. And I think those strategies and those experiences that I grew up having, it was another way for me to use this when I'm working with my clients, my adult clients, as well as students that I've worked with in the school setting.
So walking by side, is the rhythm of walking, does that affect the conversation? And is there eventually when you're walking outside and with nature, is does do you eventually feel a rhythm of nature as well?
Rhythm of nature, mindfulness. Oftentimes, when you're walking, sometimes you're just listening to your footsteps as you're walking. And, if you're walking in the fall, you can hear your feet walking through the leaves, or during the winter, slushing in the snow, um, hearing the wind. There's so many things to be in tune to, along with definitely for me listening to my clients. But they feel very comfortable. I've gotten feedback from clients that may have said, feels like I'm walking with a friend, or it feels like I'm walking with a confidant or a mentor. Um, and I agree with them. And I also say, and I am your therapist, because I want them to understand that I am here to support them. I'm here to listen to them. I'm here to be by their side, even when there's difficult conversations to have. And kind of reminds me a little bit of when, growing up with some of my friends, we would have these type of conversations. Obviously, walking and talking with friends is therapeutic, but I think walking with a trained therapist such as myself, that's life changing.
When you talk about walking and then listening to the steps, it kind of sounds like meditation and listening to your breath and the heartbeat. Is there any connection?
There is, when you're walking at a distance, and sometimes we'll pick up the pace. Sometimes I'll have clients that want to walk right along the lakefront, right in the sand. And you know how hilly it gets, and you're kind of off balance, but we're still trying to keep this pace. And what that does is that it actually raises your heart rate. And when your heart raises, it helps you to release endorphins, feel good chemicals, as they call it. And it allows you to feel freer in your conversation and your thought. So all that makes sense. Oftentimes when I'm walking with students, and maybe too cold outside and they want to stay in, And we walk the halls when everyone's in class, obviously. Um, but we will walk the stairs as we're going from one flight to the next. And again, you go on those, you're taking those stairs and you're raising your heart rate, and it's the same thing. And I think it's something about that energy that's being released that also calms you at the same time.
But sometimes if you're walking by the lake and it's a little windy, then the wind kind of beats you back. But then as you walk, it's kind of enjoyable too.
It is
And it's
enjoyable.
kind of calming as well.
It is calming, and oftentimes clients will say that they feel like they've conf they've conf they have conquered the day. They have conquered the moment. My walks, we it's for an hour, and in that hour we can walk anywhere between 2.5 to 3 miles. And it's part of that walk is along the lakefront. Sometimes I may meet people in my clients in the forest preserve. So it just depends on where we are. And I'll tell you, I have quite a few clients that will meet me during the winter. The winter is the best time for them, they say. It's just, and I'll call and I say, hey, it's going to be single digits. Are you still ready? And they just you can just hear the excitement. They're like, of course I'm ready. This is what I've been waiting for. I'm ready to get out there. Because it is the cold, it is the wind. Um, but there's no such thing as bad weather. It's just inadequate gear. So we just layer up. And once we're out and we're walking and we're talking and we're into the conversations that need to be had, the last thing we're thinking of that we're cold.
What
Yeah,
about in the winter? Do you walk during the day? Because if during the day it helps a lot. Some people suffer from seasonal affective disorder, and then when there's the sunlight, even if the sun's not out, it's still much lighter outside than indoors.
absolutely. Yes, I definitely meet with my clients during the day. We don't do nighttime walk and talk, but we do during the day. Early mornings, as early as 6:30, I'm out with clients all the way until 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, because we want to be able to see where we're going and want to be observant. Oftentimes my clients may want to take a picture of footprints of a rabbit that has run through, or maybe that looks like a fox. So they want to take a picture of the leaves changing, or they want to take pictures of the lakefront of the sunrise or the sunset. So there's a lot of benefits for being outside. Hmm.
Did you come up with walk and talk therapy, or did you learn it from someone?
Yes. Well, I started walk and talk therapy. I created walk and talk therapy back in 2003, and it started in the school settings. And the way that began was, oftentimes if a teacher is wanting you to come to the classroom because they may have a student that may be kind of squirrely, and they're identifying that maybe there may be some kind of inadequate attention that they're trying to get out of the classroom, or there may be even a conflict in the classroom, and they'll call me, and so I'll go to the class, and I, may ask, ask the student to come out so I can speak with them so that we can go back to my office. Well, I tell you, by the time we get back to my office, we only have about 10 minutes to have a conversation. And oftentimes those students will also say, I don't know you. I'm not sure if I feel comfortable speaking to you. And so I'm trying to figure out, as a social worker, we're always trying to figure out, how can I meet this individual where they are? And so for me, I would say, we don't have to go back to my office. Everyone's in the classroom right now. The hallways are nice and clear. Let's just take a walk throughout the halls. And that's exactly what we started doing. And then we would transfer from walking in the hallways when it got warmer outside, then we would walk around the outdoor sporting track. And so it was a real nice combination where students felt extremely comfortable speaking with me. And then after a while, when I would walk back into that classroom or another classroom for a student, I would have 4 or 5 other students say, Mr. Sevier, take me, take me. And so I felt like that was the beginning of, and there were a few times where I would have a teacher that may say, "Hey, I saw you talking with that student. I have him in my classroom. He's really pushing some buttons for me. It's some things that I haven't even thought about. It's been such a long time ago, but I'm really having some concerns about this this student." So I would say, you know what? It's during your lunchtime. Why don't we get together and we can walk around the track outside? And for the first 10 minutes, we may be talking about that particular student and their behavior and how it's affecting the classroom. But after a while, I was talking about, some other things that may have really triggered that teacher, but what they may have been going through as a young person. And once that began to happen, and I saw that it was more than just about a student, that it was more about things that was unresolved. I didn't go into therapy with that teacher, but I began to understand that walking outside and being in nature and walking side by side is something that I could take back to my private practice. And that's what I did. I took it back to my private practice and I started asking clients if they want to go for a walk rather than remain in my office. And that's exactly when it started. So back in 2003 is when Walk and Talk began.
And you saw the difference that it made between when your clients or the people that you were trying to help were sitting with you inside your office face to face versus the side by side and walking, especially walking outside is even better. You could see that there is a difference, right?
Absolutely. I won't say that all of my clients want to go outside because oftentimes it takes a type of person that wants to be outside, that wants to be in nature, that likes to be in movement. And it's for individuals that may have been athletes growing up or people that just enjoy walking outside and may have been individuals that had a hard time staying in their seat as we were speaking, maybe because of a diagnosis of ADHD, and it was a great way of getting them out. Again, as a therapist, as a social worker, I'm always trying to figure out what's best for my client and how I can meet their needs. And so I would bring it up, and you would be surprised how many clients would say, "Yeah, we can try it out. Let's try it out." And after a while, it was specifically for I would begin to market my services as a walk and talk therapist, and I began to receive a lot of phone calls specifically for a walk and talk therapy.
What about seniors? Some of them are not that mobile, but of course, oftentimes it would seem that if they were to be a little bit more mobile and then and be talking with you, it might actually help them, especially with being outdoors. So how do you address how do you use walk and talk with seniors if possible, whenever possible?
Yeah, that's a good question. I definitely take into account any medical concerns, whether you're young or old, that I want to be aware of. And oftentimes I'll ask if you could get some kind of waiver or some kind of feedback where I'm able to speak with their physician to make sure that the outdoors and walking will be something suitable for them. But if I'm walking with or working with a client that wants to be outside, but they may be older and may not be up to long walking distances. Um, Oftentimes we'll walk a full block and back. We can walk, we can stop, we can walk, we can sit down on the bench, we can walk. And, we're not trying to run a marathon here. The biggest thing is being in an area in a space where you feel comfortable. And if it's for a block, if it's for 2 blocks, that's perfectly fine. The main thing is that we're getting what we need by being outdoors and having conversations and addressing those concerns that they're really needing to understand, process, and deal with.
Well, you did describe how side-by-side conversations seem to be more conducive and more comforting for your clients rather than face-to-face. What about side-by-side, right side versus left side? Do you ever see any difference between the two sides?
Boy, you're good. I, I've never thought about that, but um, oftentimes when I'm walking with the client, we find ourselves going back and forth. There's never just one side that I'm always on. That's very interesting. But there hasn't been a concern or it hasn't been addressed. But that's something that I'll definitely keep in mind. I know that I also conduct walk and talk therapy with couples as well. And that's very interesting, just because there's three of us walking on the path or on the sidewalk, and at some point, I can be behind them as both of them in front. Sometimes I can be in front and they're behind. Sometimes I can be on either side. Um, but whatever feels natural. And I think when you're talking, when you're engaging, when you're really addressing the things that need to be discussed, uh, you really feel like I'm just moving forward. I'm not trying to figure out, oh, did I step on your foot or or we're really in sync. And I think that's the thing that you talked about earlier is being in sync, side by side, and what that feels like. And sometimes I may have a client or two that want to bring the dog, and which is also very interesting because I have to make sure the dog is chasing a squirrel or looking at a bird. But again, meeting them where they are, it feels natural, natural with nature.
When you're with the couples, are you ever like in between them, like one on each side of you?
Absolutely. Like I said, sometimes I can be between, in front, in the back, side. Um, Sometimes, couples may want to stay in the office, and that's perfectly fine as well. It's not where we just have to be out. It really is every session is based off of what they feel is more suitable for them. Sometimes I will have a older individual that may feel like being outside is not conducive, but they know the walking is. And I have found places within, Rogers Park or within the city limits where there are indoor gyms that have the walking tracks. And, I really try to look out for the best times to be there so that we can engage in those type of walks and conversations without it being just actually crowded. So again, I'm always trying to find out what's the best place, the best way that I could meet the needs of my clients.
Are there any favorite spots of clients among the different beaches in Rogers Park or places?
Yes, Leon Park, all from Leon Park, all the way down to Pratt Beach. That's always a favorite. Um, Also, meeting my clients at my office, which is here in Rogers Park. It's a mile and a half down to the Leon Beach. Walk over to Pratt and come back my way again. That's a full 3 miles. That's a 1 hour for the most part. That's a really great walk because we get the urban feel as well as the nature along the lakefront. Evanston as well, walking from the along the lakefront all the way up to Northwestern. Also, the Forest Preserve. Those are always fun as well. They can be located in Skokie and some other areas back in I think it's called Glen Forest area as well. So downtown at the Riverwalk, along the lakefront, down by the I cannot remember the beach right now, but down by Fullerton where they have all the zoo area. That's another great place to go. A lot of times I will ask my clients, do you have a favorite place that you enjoy? And would you like to go there, or would you like for me to figure out a path for us to take? Oftentimes, if it's a place that they would like to go and I haven't been there, then I will go check it out and just see the makeup of it, where it's located, the lighting area, or things like that, just to be aware of. Yeah.
When you are in nature with your client, do you ever use nature metaphors to maybe help enforce some point of a conversation? If you can, if yes, could you give us one or two examples?
Well, for example, we're talking about it's going to be single digits, the cold weather. the wind, the hills, things that these are obstacles that would normally slow down the a normal person that would say, I don't want to go outside. It's just too much. And I use it as an opportunity for us to say, you know what, we've been out here for a full hour, or we've walked 3 miles, and look what we've been able to accomplish and or conquer. And I would ask, how does this match up in your day-to-day life? And they're able to. I allow them to, cultivate them to be able to talk about, yeah, well, this reminds me of the times where, I didn't want to go out and, go to work because, it was too cold outside. I would have rather stayed in. And in the past, I may have quit a job because it was just too cold and catching the train. And, looking at it now, they can see it from a different vantage point. And they can see that they're able to do whatever it is they want. But I think, putting them in various obstacles like that, which is nature, it is a responsibility for them to be able to take responsibility for the things that they know that's best for them, and to use it in a way that is conducive, Mhm.
You well,
conducive to learning.
well, you seem to have a lot of talents in helping people with with the walk and talk. Do you have enough time to help people that might not be able to pay for your services, such as like maybe some homeless people that we have a lot around throughout the city.
Yeah, that would be something that I would really look into. I think walk and talk is for everyone, especially walk and talk therapy. I would like to look at some of the park districts, especially here in Rogers Park. There's a park that's just a thrown stone away from me, and I would like to be able to meet with some of the administrators there to kind of pitch it to them and say, hey, let's take a half an hour out during the kids' break, during their lunch. Give them an opportunity to have a walk and talk around the track, or around the baseball diamond, or around the field. But I think my next goal is to begin to work with community. I really would like to start here in Rogers Park because this is just where I reside. Obviously, I'm open to any and everywhere, but I really want to go back to, or get back to, helping out the communities, and for those individuals that may not be able to have them have the insurance and the monies to be able to participate in walk and talk therapy.
And do you help parents and children together? Like I know that you help couples, but do you ever do parent and child walk and talks as well?
I have had that, definitely. We're adolescent, and we're, once I asked, I said, well, would you like for your, again, I'm always asking because if I'm working with an adolescent, then that's the first person I'll ask. I'll give them an option. And they say, yeah, like, sure, then let's ask your mom, or let's ask your dad to see if they want to go for a walk. And I think it's important for me to make sure that the parent is involved in the conversations. If it's something that's dealing with conflict or disagreement or power struggles, why not have that parent with us? And again, we're walking forward. We're always walking forward in motion, in movement, in light. And I like to use that analogy so that they understand that this is how we get things done.
Maybe
Yes.
that's part of it too. Maybe that's part of how it helps you help others. All that walking forward, it's already imprinting that motion into your clients' minds.
Absolutely. I've this will be my 23rd year walk and talk therapy. And it has really been a powerful uh, process for me, not only for my clients, but for me as well. I have the opportunity of working with so many wonderful individuals, and it's a full spectrum of clients I work with. It can be anyone that's whether it be lawyers or former athletes, or it can be individuals that may work at our local stores or within our communities. I think we all have a story to tell, and it's extremely important for them to be able to see a full span of what they've been able to experience. And we look at the things that's in their control, and we look at things that are out of their control. Not to say the things that are out of their control is not it's not feasible, but we need to look at things that's in our control and how can we make that better? How can we make that better?
If our listeners want to learn more about you, Glenn Sevier, with Advanced Potential, where should they go?
Yes, well, they can always go to my website, and that's www advanced potential. That's ADV as in Victor, ANCE potential.com.
Hmm. All right.
Okay.
Yes, Glenn Sevier, thank you so much for joining us on WZRD Chicago 88.3 FM. And much luck to you. And I'm looking forward to all the people that you can help with walk and
Well,
talk.
thank you so much. Thank you for having me on. I look forward to working with you in the future.
Yeah.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.